Hi, and welcome to the first part of the lecture on border traffic. We're going to be talking about the U.S.-Mexico border mostly here. And right in front of you is a picture of that border. And can you guess which side is which? If you guessed that this was Mexico, you're right. This is Tijuana, and over here we've got an area kind of San Diego, but obviously it's not the part of the part of the city that a lot of people live in. Actually, this is a sewer treatment plant. But let's take a look at things. NAFTA is kind of the economic bedrock of the U.S.-Mexico relationship, and Canada as well, if you're going to include everything. NAFTA is basically an economic treaty between the three large countries of North America, short for the North American Free Trade Agreement. It was passed in 1994 with, it was very controversial politically. I remember, growing up, I was only kind of partly engaged in politics at the time, but it was the huge issue for really a couple years. What it did was eliminate most of the tariffs, and these are the taxes on goods or services that cross the borders, the international borders, between these three countries. So if you get rid of those tariffs, those taxes, it's going to make buying goods or services from across the border much more attractive and cheaper, which will mean that the economic activity between these three countries goes up a lot. And there will be winners and losers in this, because now, say, American producers of, oranges will be competing with growers of oranges from Mexico, American producers of, ice cream will be competing with Canadian producers of ice cream. So people can benefit or lose from this. That's one reason it was so controversial. And because of that, the decrease in taxes, you have legal trade skyrocketed between the U.S. and Mexico, and it's now worth over $400 billion per year. Looking at 1994, it was only about $80 million per year. And so here's when NAFTA passed, and up. And this is only through 2007, so it continues to today. NAFTA also allowed for the increased passage of people legally across the border, both ways. And so, border crossings, legally speaking, or legal border crossings also increased quite a bit. Economically speaking, the main goods that are now traded back and forth are agricultural products, things like the oranges I just mentioned a moment ago, manufactured goods, things like motorcycles, cars, and so on, and very much oil. Both the U.S. and Mexico are major oil producers, but a lot of the U.S.'s a lot of the oil and gas that American consumers use comes from Mexico. On the other hand, you have, despite the increase, or maybe because of the increase in legal goods and services going back and forth across the border, you also have a large increase in illegal goods, which are definitely not covered under NAFTA. For instance, it is very illegal to carry guns from the U.S. into Mexico, but it happens quite a bit, and we'll talk about that in a moment. One of probably the most widespread thing that people in the U.S. see in terms of media exposure coming from Mexico is illegal drugs. You have cartels, which are groups that control the supply of a good in Mexico, trafficking illegal drugs in order to meet the American demand. And these cartels have become almost political organizations in that they can almost become kind of a second government in certain areas, depending on the governance of the area and what the cartel is up to. And to some extent, they've split up control of illegal trade routes through Mexico. So this map that comes from Stratfor, which is a kind of security analysis firm, kind of shows the different areas more or less controlled by different cartels. The thing is, though, that Cartels are pretty violent by their nature. Recently, the Mexican government has been kind of cracking down and fighting back against the cartels, which have a well-deserved reputation for being really vicious, just chopping people's heads off and, doing all kinds of bad stuff. And by now you have over 15,000 Mexicans or people in Mexico dying per year from this violence between the cartels themselves, between the cartels and the government, and cartel violence inflicted upon civilians. And kind of in a mirror image of the drug trade, if you have mostly illegal drugs going from Mexico to the U.S., you have largely illegal guns going from the U.S. to Mexico, partly because the U.S. has a much more kind of established culture of legal gun ownership. And those guns end up fueling the violence in Mexico between the cartels and the government. That's all for now, and coming next will be the continuation of this on migration.